Aditya, we love pictures that your father has taken and your entire family. Your brother, in fact, you tell this audience, I'm not sure if everybody knows, he discovered a snake species somewhere. Do you want to share this?
Nilgiris.
Yeah, in the Nilgiris, correct. Do you want to share where this happened and when this
Yeah,
happened?
but to be very honest, I'm only here because she's promoting us during elections right now with the Tiger season. So frankly, I'm only here because of that.
That makes complete
And,
sense.
Yes, the model code of conduct is in
Yeah,
place.
and I'm getting product placement right here. Why not then, right? So
Sanjana, I've seen your Instagram. You have lovely pictures with your pets. How big an animal lover are you?
Huge animal lover and pet lover. I think it came from my parents and my grandparents.
Is jungle a place where everybody gets a reality check and there the animal is the VIP and the animal is someone who gets all the importance? You have to go chasing them and they don't come because you're a film actor or a politician.
no, if I don't see the tiger in the jungle, I look at the mirror. Sorry.
Guys, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. It's very easy to pull an audience for movies and movie promotions. It's difficult to pull an audience for books. So I really appreciate that all you guys are here. Let's welcome the author of the book Tiger Season, Gargi Rawat. Gargi, please take a seat. And we have to thank two guests who Gargi has called, and we'll have them here, Aditya Thackeray and Sanjana Sanghi. Sanjana, please take a seat. Aditya, please take a seat. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Firstly, Gargi, you should be thanking them.
Yes,
They've come
thank you
just
so
for
much
you,
for
just for your
coming
book.
for this and for my book event, my first book. And thank you, Rohit, also for helping organize this. And thank you, everyone, for being here.
Right, Gargi, first question to you. At a time like this, when everybody is just on Instagram, everybody wants to see videos, you do so many shows yourself, why did you think there was a need to write a book about this?
Well, this book is based on a lot of my own experiences. It's, in my 20 years of journalism with NDTV, I've been very lucky to be able to do a lot of, coverage on the ground, especially issues related to wildlife and environment. And that's the reason I got into journalism. It's because I felt so strongly about these issues and I got that opportunity. And I felt there was a lot I would like to, express, which one can't do in a news report. And I thought that this story, that this book it's a light-hearted book, but it also has these themes of conservation and gives you a little bit of a background of India's conservation story, our tiger parks, the locals who live around the park, and the forest department. There's so much that goes into it that one doesn't see if you just visit a park and take photos of a tiger, but you don't realize the background of it and how much effort goes into it. So I wanted to express that through this through this novel, and hopefully it will get picked up and get made into something on screen as well. So let's see that.
Right.
For
We
those who don't
wanted
read.
animal lovers and nature lovers here. That's the reason we thought of both of you. Sanjana, I've seen your Instagram. You have lovely pictures with your pets. How big an animal lover are you?
First of all, congratulations, Gargi.
Thank you.
Huge animal lover and pet lover. I think it came from my parents and my grandparents. My parents actually happened to be floriculturists themselves.
Okay.
So
Wow.
always grew up around just flora and fauna both being a very interdependent aspect of life and a very important aspect. And then, of course, growing up in the north, had lots of dogs and rabbits and lots of different animals in the farm.
Right.
Where my parents would grow the flowers that they would then sell. So I'd have these photos actually of just sitting amidst like all of them together and understanding that, I mean, that was childhood for me, but there was a certain simplicity
Right.
and innocence to those moments, which I think is what make animals just so special and why we all even set off on these adventures, because there's something about that experience that's so visceral almost, that I miss actually. But I feel like I think readers will also get to experience that through Gargi's book,
Yeah.
because she's painted such vivid pictures
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you
yeah.
through the way that she's written it.
Right. Aditya, we love pictures that your father has taken, and your entire family, your brother, in fact, you tell this audience, I'm not sure if everybody knows, he discovered a snake species somewhere. Do you want to
the
share this?
Nilgiris.
Yeah, in the Nilgiris, correct. Do you want to share where this happened and when this
Yeah,
happened?
but to be very honest, I'm only here because she's promoting us during elections right now with the Tiger season. So frankly, I'm only here because of that.
That makes complete
And,
sense.
Yes, the model code of conduct is in
yeah,
place.
and I'm getting product placement right here. Why not then, right? So,
That is true.
yeah, jokes apart, to be honest, of course, I've grown up again in a family of environmentalists. And my grandfather, of course, has had this habit of, always standing up for forests and wildlife and environment. He himself had a lot of these botanical gardens in our own farmhouse, looked after his own plants and trees. His favorite pastime was to step out to our garden and, look after the trees. He had a green thumb. I mean, as much as everyone paints his image as saffron, he had a green thumb. So that is also needed in today's age. But apart from that, my father is a wildlife photographer, conservationist himself. He's held many medical camps back in Kana, Ranthambore, Pench. Pench in Maharashtra actually came because of him 25 years ago telling one of our environment ministers at the center to have a national park around there. Mr. Suresh Prabhu was the environment minister back then.
Yes, yes.
So that was one of the things. And my brother is, I joke about it calling him Mowgli, but he's a wildlife researcher. So if you see his Instagram page, Thackeray Wildlife Foundation, he's not just one species. He's gone into snakes and pythons and frogs. And yesterday he's discovered some geckos. All the things that we find really slimy and we stay away from and shout at when you look at it, look at it in a room, he goes behind those. So the Eastern Ghats, Western Ghats, Arunachal Pradesh, and everywhere, he's just gone behind all these species. So I obviously grew up in that environment, trying to keep myself away from all of these weird-looking things like pythons and all. But so there's of course an imprint that happens. In the subconscious, you grow up wanting to coexist with them.
Right.
And I think that is very important, especially in our work, wherever we work, be it politics, corporate, films, wherever, whichever field, right? You realize you've missed that connect with nature nowadays. You've stopped looking at the clouds for rain. You stopped looking at, your flora, fauna around you. And I think that is what is missing today.
Right. Sanjana, you miss that a lot because you're from Delhi. Bombay, our roads are smaller, our houses are smaller. Do you miss a lot
Dil
of
bade
nature?
hamare yaar.
Question.
Delhi
Chart
ka bhi
is
dil
better.
hai.
Yeah, chart is better. Yeah, we can't stop
No,
and start a
I-
Delhi Bombay
two
debate
star-
here.
Two Mumbai, two Delhi people out here, so let's just start.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Lok Sabha season, you can have that debate.
No, but taking from what Aditya said about the
sorry for interrupting.
geckos and the snakes, etc. I mean, Tiger season, we've done a Save Our Tigers campaign with NDTV, and tiger is a very attractive animal. And, we often, when people ask why just the tiger, it's not just the tiger, because when you protect the tiger, you protect these forests, you protect the habitat, where a lot of other animals get this protection as well. And while they may not be the most attractive, and we may not do a Save the Snake campaign or a Save the Gecko campaign or lizard or whatever it is, the tiger being what it is, it's our national animal, and I think it represents all the other animals. But at the same time, yes, one must also talk about not lesser animals, but the smaller animals, the smaller species as well. And I know we all talk about the elephant, the tiger, the lion, the leopard, etc. But India has such a vast, treasure of animals and species and biodiversity. It's incredible and not explored enough. So it's wonderful the work your brother's doing. Very, very important work.
Thank you. That's not we exactly tell that to him, but sorry, you missed your
How much time does he spend in the wild, your brother?
a lot, and especially when we do safaris. So typically, it's for example me and my father going behind a tiger, and he won't come with us because he's like, why are you just going behind one creature? You've got to look at everything around you. Look at the leaves. Look at it's typically a very different perspective to hold when you go for a safari, especially a tiger safari.
Right. Sanjana, when you go on safaris, the first safaris, like first time when you go to the jungle, it's very different. Everybody just wants to see the tiger. Tiger dikhao, we'll sit on the head. Now, what stage are you all in, both of you? When you go to the jungle, when you enter the park, what is your brief to your guide and your driver?
My first brief is I don't want to be shown that paw mark and be told कि बस अभी आया था. You know, I
That's very
remember
typical.
growing up in especially Corbett and
true.
when we used to go on those safaris, and I remember asking my dad constantly that why is seeing the tiger the end game?
Right.
Because I used to be most thrilled looking at just the deers running around, just the birds. There's so much else. So luckily now it's honestly I think I've been on endless safaris. Luckily I have some very close friends who do some very unique kind of drive-ins, and now it's just about I just take it in from an atmospheric perspective. I'll be honest with you. I think maybe being an actor has a lot to do with it now, where the way you observe life and the way you observe nature also goes through a little bit of a change. I almost notice myself observing expressions and body language, because animal behavior is actually a big part of an actor's training. So as much as I don't want it to be that, it is that. That is my lens now. But I love that. It allows me to interact with them in a different way, in a special way.
Right. When you go, you said you and your dad go for a tiger safari or jungle safari.
I've been about 4 or 5 times, not too much as much as my brother and my father have been, but I've been on limited ones. Yeah.
What do you go for? What do you want to see? Honestly.
I think the feel of it. To be very, very honest, I've been to Bandhavgarh 2-3 times. I've been to Tadoba a couple of times, and it just feels so good and so special to be in the midst of the forest.
Right.
You see, again. If there's a tiger in the vicinity, you have these animals signaling it out to the other animals, saying, okay, there's a tiger here. You'll have a monkey giving a call. You'll have birds giving a special call. So I think it's very intelligent to pick up on these signs. So that is one, but there you just have to go and breathe that environment, that forest. For example, one of my favorite spots in Bandhavgarh is in Chakradara. It's a meadow.
Yes,
It's so beautiful, just so calm and so beautiful. Then there's this one place where you have a huge Vishnu statue.
Yeah.
You've got to go up the hill, and again you start off at 5 a.m. You come back at 12 and the sun is up there. And one of my favorite moments was we were on this one tigress with her 3 cubs, and the next gypsy was this photographer called Steve Winter. He's one of the most renowned photographers for tigers, and he's got a lot of Nat Geo covers for big cats.
Yes.
But to be in this company and to learn how they are in that situation, I think it's a lot of learning. And then, of course, to be patient there, to be, remaining as you are, part of that nature, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I'm a film journalist. I may never get to interview your dad. I'm a big fan of his pictures. You tell me, what is he like when
If
he's
you
on
tell
the
him
jeep?
it's about pictures, he'll for sure sit with you.
I'll try. What is he like when he's on the jeep?
Very patient, which he always is normally. Very balanced. I think he takes all of that from the forest, because if you see, even in politics, he's not the kind of a person who'll get too excited with a win or too heartbroken with a loss. He tries to remain as calm as possible. So I think with him, again, sitting with him in a gypsy in a forest is very edgy, because he can go to far extremes, forget about food and water, start off very early, end of the day very, very late, be very, very careful about his images. So I think then you don't want to be sitting in the same gypsy and trying to talk to another person, because he wants silence there. He wants to observe the animal. So that's very crucial.
Right.
That's so wonderful to hear, because I think tourism and wildlife tourism, especially in this country, is something that we can have more of, but in a very careful sort of way, and more areas. We have, Tadoba, of course, here is one of your major parks, and there's so much tourism there. But you have smaller areas that have now also, got their national parks or reserves where tourism could be promoted. And it's also, I feel, a very important alternative employment for so many people in villages and in periphery areas. If one can just, plan that better, think it out. And India, end of the day, is the one country where you get to see tigers. I mean, there are 13 tiger range countries, but you don't get to see tigers there. India has 70% of the world's wild tiger population. Of course, the US has like 5,000 captive tigers, but we have 3,000 tigers in the wild, and not all of them are in parks. So, I mean, it's such a huge draw because, I mean, Rohit, end of the day, children sitting in Sweden, children sitting in Canada who may never even see a tiger in real life. If you ask them, what's your favorite animal? They'll say tiger, because it's just such a charismatic animal and it's so attractive for children. There's so many books, children books about tigers, etc. So I think that is, for us, it's a huge, it's a huge plus point that we have. We are the country with tigers and where people from anywhere in the world can come and see. So that's a big thing.
Gargi, y'all have done so many shows on NDTV. Save the Tiger was one of the biggest and the best campaign I can think of. Do you want to tell people what difference did they make? Like, what difference does a show and a campaign like that make?
Right. So, as I said, I was very lucky that at NDTV we got to do these campaigns, and it was something we felt about, very strongly. And when we started the Save Our Tigers campaign, at that time, the tiger census or the tiger count had come out, and 1411 was the number. Till then, it wasn't done very scientifically, and we thought we had 3,500 tigers. But for the first time, they did how they do the tiger count, and the 1411 number came out, and that's when we did the tiger campaign to kind of, get everyone together, energized behind this. And we had a huge response from students, chief ministers, politicians, etc. Wherever we went, movie stars as well as cricketers. Also, Dhoni got involved. He went with us to meet the Uttarakhand chief minister and ask for various commitments. So we had a whole series, and people said congratulations because the next census came out and the tiger count went up. So it wasn't because of our campaign, but it was just interesting to see all that. And we asked for some very real changes. For example, around Corbett, because the land around belongs to the revenue department, so they give it out to all these hotels, etc. It's not controlled by the forest department, which would maybe then say we don't need so many hotels. You don't need 500 hotels when you're only allowing a certain number of tourists into the park each day. So a lot of those hotels became shadi places, party places, rain dances, all kinds of things. Yeah, all those kind of things. And then because we petitioned the chief minister there, then they declared the area around as a zero tolerance for like noise. The noise level got controlled over there and stuff. So these are the kind of things that our reportage made a difference, and we managed to achieve.
Well done. One thing to both of you, what is the one thing that, from your experiences in the jungle, you would want to change, you would want to see in the near future, that a future generation should see that? Anything on mind that should change?
I think, to be honest, more than the jungle, it's us who need to sort of believe in coexistence. Because, what's happened over the past 4, 5, let me not say 10, because then there'll be a political color to it, but over the past decade, this whole thing of development has been synonymous with destruction of environment. You don't need too many tunnels, you need too many highways and motorways and all that. We need that, yes. But there are certain places, like for example, Joshimath, the coverage is stopped, but someday you'll have it go down into that valley. You look at what was happening in Maharashtra, and sort of my experience as a minister for environment back then, and my father being the chief minister from a wildlife background, it helped the wildlife department actually get more weightage over the industry department and then balance it out. Because normally urban development, rural development, industry, all of these departments are the heavyweight industries departments, and then you have the lightweight departments as the forest. So we had 2 mines which were coming up in Tadobandari, Marki Mangli 2 and one more. We said you can't start that because that's right in the middle of a core area. What happens to the core area if you start off with mines? You had a railway running through, again, Melghat. And that railway was so silly because it was a narrow gauge being converted to a broad gauge, would have become faster, but would have gone through a tiger corridor. And instead, when we diverted it from outside, you connected almost 90 plus villages and helped the people rather than just go through a tiger corridor.
Right.
Things like that. For example, now the Thane Creek is a Ramsar site. It sits between Thane and Mumbai, the 2 most densely populated cities in India. And the creek is actually a Ramsar site, which is unbelievable, in terms of where it can fit in geographically.
Right.
So if we start believing in coexistence, I think things can move forward. You need to find solutions.
Right.
If you're going through a forest for a highway, take it on elevated grounds. Why do you need to cut so many trees? And there are alternatives, there are possibilities. You just need to look at it.
Right, we'll always be told that development will come at a cost, whether it's the coastal road, whether it's some other highway coming and trees will be cut. This is what we are always told, that development will come at a cost.
I'll tell you, even with the coastal road, right, we had the smallest of species being studied. You had certain things that had to be transplanted from there. We did that, and only then we sort of allowed it. Mangroves, 15,000 hectares of mangroves we got under the protection of the Indian Forest Act in 11 months. These were just lying there, and you could have gone on, taken them for development. Development has to happen, but when you're making a road, do you want to go faster to the hospital or do you want to go faster to your destination? If you're cutting trees, if you're cutting hills, you're going faster to the hospital.
No, it's so wonderful to hear Aditya talk like this, and I think we need more of our politicians to talk about these kind of issues and so passionately. I mean, look at you in Mumbai right now. You're having the worst air pollution I think this last year that you've ever had, and so these are issues that really matter and to our health. And yes, as you said, development. We have to keep in mind the environment and the forest and the animals. For example, you have that National Highway 7 that is elevated and the animals can cross, underneath it. But I know what an effort it took to make that happen, because for years we were covering how activists were protesting, petitioning. They went to the courts as well. We know the Ministry of Roadways was very reluctant because it set the cost of the project up quite a lot. But I think it was. And today we tout it. We're like, look at this highway. We allow the animals to pass. But I know how much effort it took. Yeah. And unfortunately, I feel in this day and age in India, we're not seeing enough of those protests and those kind of, people coming out and petitioning and criticizing certain projects. And I think we need more of that in the media also to do more of that, because we did cover that story extensively during our Save Our Tigers campaign. And now you have that. It's great to see that highway there with the underpasses that allow the animals to cross. And yes, so exactly what Aditya said, that you don't need those railway lines going through the park. You can at an added cost have them outside and save the forest. It
helps connect people as well, right? I mean, who are you connecting in the forest by destroying the forest?
Right. Sanjana, I'll come to you. There are so many causes like celebrities are associated with. When someone comes to you, many people I'm guessing must be coming to you, like we called you for this. What is it that you look for, and where you will put your name against it? What should be the few tick marks there?
I think, Rohit, with me, that I've had a long journey in working in education activism, actually. Yes. I had the great fortune of going to Delhi University myself, and just the simple belief that education is the unlocking of a potential that we may never know is something that I've gotten to experience in my own life. Mm-hmm. And so that in any sphere, whether it's climate change, whether it's animal conservation, whether it's making our children in India realize that it's not just about what they're studying in the classroom, but it's about them just realizing that their potential is truly limitless and having resources for that. Yeah. Anything that subsumes all of that is what I'm passionate about. Okay. And it comes from a personal place of just truly, when you're one of those kids where you grow up in a middle class family where it's that you have to make a life for yourself, you start finding tools of how can you make that life for yourself. And for me, a solid education which gave me that sense of self, that knowledge, that confidence is what did it for me. And I feel like, the children I work with, I see that same rigor in them. Right. And now as my appointment with the UNDP, that's also the work that I continue to do. And honestly, we're bringing in these elements as well, right? Because in certain stratas of our society, in more rural and semi-urban areas, the focus is so much on just getting the core curriculum right that these elements of wildlife conservation, climate change, sexual health awareness, they tend to get neglected. Yes. So the idea is to make it more well-rounded.
Right. Aditya, do you think we can start this at a much educational level in schools, more awareness? Do you think that's missing?
It's 1,000% about education, because one of the people I look up to normally in politics is Tony Blair. And in terms of when he was becoming Prime Minister and when he was asked, if you become Prime Minister, what will your top 3 priorities be? He said education, number 2 education, and number 3 education. Because again, see, I mean, if you're going to move ahead as a society, you need to have your education right. What we were doing in our municipal schools here in BMC was, of course, looking at the curricular activities. So you have the state board, which is the SSE. Along with that, we're probably the first city in India to have the IB come in for free, the IGCSE come in for free, CBSE come in for free, and ICSE come in for free. So we had 5 different boards right from 2019 onwards in our city for municipal kids, free of cost. Okay. There was a dropout rate of almost 30,000, 20,000 every year. You had, kids moving because these are kids who come from families that migrate from one city to another looking for work. this was the first time that for 4,000 seats, we had a lottery for 10,000 kids because kids were applying left, right, center. Families were applying left, right, center. You've got education happening in almost 8 languages. English, semi-English, Marathi, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, Gujarati, Kannada, all of these languages. And when you have so many different, mediums of learning, technology was one medium that was missing out. So we brought in virtual classrooms, tabs. But along with that, the extracurricular activities really mattered a lot. So we were probably, again, one of the first, cities across India to have financial literacy to come into our school system.
Right.
So we tied up with the BSE, saying, teach our kids how to invest. What is an FD? What is a savings account? What is a check? What is a demand draft? From the 8th standard onwards. We worked with the UNICEF for an environment syllabus. We were looking at mental health care, dental health care, type 1 diabetes management, ophthalmology, because when you get glasses for the first 1 or 2 years, you don't realize why is the blackboard so blurry to me. Things like that. And then we had started this thing called the Wagoba Club, which is essentially what we had, the nature club from World Wildlife Foundation, so in our school. So things like these. And now most of it, unfortunately, is defunded for political reasons. But these were things that really matter. And again, the whole aim should be, as a government, it should be working class parents, middle class children. So your kids should at least step one step further in the socio-economic strata in society.
Right. That's great. Governments will change, and that will keep happening world over, not just here. Do you think these are the things that should stay unaffected, and nobody should undo what a previous government did when it comes to environment and things like that?
Yeah, unaffected till you actually can better it. If you have a step further, go for it. And these are things, again, we shouldn't put a political face to. So these were things we were not putting our faces to, no labels, no colors. Because finally, see, these are the basics in society. We're not doing a favor by doing these things to, our schools or hospitals or whatever. Education is a certain basic. For example, one of the things we were working on is this initiative called Just Play. So through 34 sessions of football, we were teaching them gender equality, sanitation, and oral hygiene. So in school, you're playing on a gender equal team. And a lot of kids are, they face stunted growth or are undernourished because they don't, have oral hygiene. And then because of bad oral hygiene and bad teeth, you actually end up eating the wrong kind of food rather than nutritious food. So your growth in terms of your physical growth, your mental growth remains stunted.
Right.
So these are things that are basics and that should be replicated across the country. And if you can better on it, go for it.
Right. Gargi, I want to ask you, this is a book, it says Tiger Season, it has a tiger on the cover, a beautiful picture of a safari and people taking pictures. Why is there Bollywood in your book? That is my beat.
Well, Bollywood is, let's face it, in this country, we all love Bollywood, we all love cricket, so I put Bollywood in this. Maybe in the next book I'll put some cricket. But even during our campaigns, whenever we've done at NDTV the Greenathon or Save Our Tigers or Banega Swachh India, we always did get a Bollywood star to be our campaign ambassador, because end of the day you can preach to the choir, and those who are already interested know everything about the issues, about environment, about wildlife. However, when you get a Bollywood star, that attracts a whole different audience that may not be so aware of the issues involved, but because there's an Amitabh Bachchan or there's a Priyanka Chopra or whoever we got during our campaigns, then they come for the stars, but then they also, watch our reportage, hear what they're saying, and they get interested in those same issues. So similarly in the book as well, I have a Bollywood star. There's some Bollywood, storyline going on, and the hope is that people may read it for the light-hearted, fun book it is, but at the same time take away some aspects of the messaging that is there about conservation, about wildlife, and about man-animal conflict, which is, I think, an issue where I think I have a somewhat different view, and you too have a somewhat different view on how to handle issues of man-animal conflict. In my book, it's a bit based on this episode in Ranthambore where this tiger Ustad killed a forest guard, and then the tiger was moved out, but then this whole movement began among tiger lovers saying that save Ustad and don't move him out, etc., which I found a little myopic, because that tiger was a threat to the forest department and others, and you have to think of the larger picture of conservation, in which you have the villagers also a part of it, the forest department are also part of it. So in the with the larger picture in view, if you sacrifice one tiger, it doesn't matter. And in Maharashtra, you had that episode with Avni,
right.
which again, I think we have divergent views, because she killed 13 people.
Yeah, all I'm
And-
saying is that just
and-
take it and put it somewhere else, or some
but
other
it
zoo
took a
or
long
whatever.
time.
Yeah.
I think they tried to tranquilize her, but when a tiger becomes a man-eater, if you read
Right.
Jim Corbett and all, they become very clever and they know how to avoid humans. So I think
In this day and age,
If you
we
want to
can't
put her
try-
on a spot, let's ask her: is this view pre-2022 NDTV or post-2022 NDTV?
we're not talking about that right now. I'm just talking about this because these issues will happen more and more, and we need to have plans in place.
Right.
I think districts or states where we're going to see, like in Uttarakhand, you have a lot of leopard issues. In around Tadoba, you're going to see more man-animal conflict involving tigers. So we need to have a response plan. It
True.
can't be
There has
that.
to be a plan, and like in this reaches the Supreme Court, in a country like India, we can't tranquilize one tiger. That's ridiculous. I feel.
No, I know what is important here is what she's saying is quite right in terms of how do we plan the future, because when we had hit 1411 tigers, that was the lowest we had possibly reached, right? And after that, when we started growing the tigers, when the tiger population started growing, the forests haven't grown at that rate. While the villages are expanding, our urban centers are expanding, how do we actually manage that growth? Because this is going to be an issue. Yes, we need more tigers, we need forest space, and we need development. But is there really a plan that is not too rigid, is flexible enough, but you can actually have a practical plan in place? Is there one plan in place? There's none. And you have eco-sensitive zones coming in place, eco-sensitive areas coming in place, like the Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats. But we need to plan for better corridors. We need to plan for better man-animal conflict resolution, quick response teams that are scientific enough.
Right.
Because normally when a tiger enters a village, typically I've seen it, even in places like in Mumbai here, where you have a leopard coming into a housing society, we've encroached onto the forest. I agree, but when it comes in, someone who's lived in the forest for a long time won't get as panicky as someone who hasn't been there.
You're right, yeah.
So how do we calm those nerves down? How do we manage the situation without harming anyone? I think that's very crucial now.
And I think for that you need, you need political will, you need NGOs as well, civil society awareness creation.
Right.
Yes, and this forward planning of having a team. Like, for example, recently in Uttar Pradesh, you had a leopard come into a home and the police came in and they put a charpai and they all
stepped
stood on
it
it
and it died,
it died. I mean, they could have maybe shut it in a room, waited for the forest department, tranquilized the animal. So these sort of situations. And you're right that the panic that gets created, especially in areas which are not accustomed to having wild animals, like routinely now in Bengaluru also one hears of leopards coming into various education institutes, etc. And it creates a huge panic there. So
Right,
having
also
a
we need
response.
stricter laws. Like, you kill a dog or you kill someone, you kill an animal and you just pay some 50 rupees and you get bail. We keep hearing these stories time and again. Sanjana, someone like you, like who's a dog lover, when you read this, like, this person killed a pet, someone's pet or a stray dog and just paid 50 rupees and walked out. We definitely need stricter laws. What do you think?
We 100% need stricter laws, and we also need, I think it also just comes down to the awareness amidst the civilians as well, right? Like, growing up in a colony, I've seen two very different kind of behaviors towards even stray dogs.
Right.
There are some residents who, for example, love feeding them regularly, and there's some who'll roam around with a stick, driving them away from their house. And like similar to even the discussion around Avni, which is that, of course, the dogs are maybe causing some harm. Maybe the stray dog did bite one of the children in the family. So it is a dichotomy. But then it again comes down to organization. Those stray dogs need to be taken somewhere that they can be given shelter, which is why organizations like Friendicos, for example, that do so much animal welfare in Delhi, I used to work with them as well, and we just used to go through colonies and just picking up stray dogs and then placing them safely in animal shelters. So if it's a physical job, as physical as that, so be it, because it can't just be left on to the residents of colonies and cities to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Because that's when these episodes happen, I feel.
Right. What is your take on this? Stray dog is such a thing. Like, some people here also must be going and feeding them and some must be not liking it. What is your take?
I think, again, it's a very similar view, because, again, my family has had all kinds of dogs in the past, and my father used to roam around with 3 Great Danes at one time and things like that. So it's been a family of dog lovers. For me, I was really scared of dogs till I was about, 19 or 20. And then I've become friends with dogs, and my mom really worries of which dog I'll bring home next. So it's become that it becomes a different relationship. But for a lot of people who are scared of dogs, the response is going to be different. Of course, hitting a dog with stones or bats or whatever is absolutely wrong. There have to be, you've got to have stricter penalties on that, stricter punishments on that. But awareness, and again, a lot of this starts in schools because this all comes from a certain kind of trauma. Someone's barked at you, someone's bitten you, or bitten someone you know. I think if things like these things, like I said, nature club, for example, the whole idea of a nature club was to take you into a forest and make you look at grass or butterflies or plants or whatever. Just get yourself used to it. Zoos, again, there's a differing view on zoos. There'll be a lot of people who say that zoos are not needed, but I believe zoos which have conservation habitats there or ex situ conservation mechanisms going on, like for example the Mumbai Zoo, you can take the kids there to get adjusted with animals, to realize that yes, they coexist with us, they're not going to cause you harm. And that's where your reaction to a certain kind of...
And I agree, and everyone can't go on a safari, so their zoos, come up
for example,
and
when we
fulfill
brought
a
the
certain
penguins, you've got a
purpose.
30,000 crowd happening almost every weekday. Much more than that on a weekend. So these are things that you can do in a society. And yes, we have to accept that all kinds of people do exist in our society. How do you deal with that is one thing.
Right. So we're reaching the end of this, guys. Gargi, if you have
Speaking
any...
of zoos.
Yeah, yes. If you have any question, you're free to ask.
No, I mean, I was just laughing because recently there's been a private zoo that's been quite in the news, or a rescue center, and I think that's wonderful that somebody who has the means can protect animals in such a way. But as you said, I hope a lot of more attention comes to this rewilding and helping create animal landscapes and corridors, etc. I think that would be a better spent, money better
And everything
spent.
should be done in a legal way. That's also one important thing.
But I've seen that one, and it's the way they've done it is actually, for a wildlife lover, it's a bliss. It's like
I would
heavenly,
love
because
to see it.
finally what happens is, in a lot of places where you have terrible kinds of zoos, when you invest well in it and you have conservation, breeding programs going on. For example, the Humboldt penguins. Today they survived because you had conservation programs happening around the world in the zoos. So this is what we faced when we brought the penguins here to Mumbai, and a lot of people are like, do they
I
belong
remember,
to Mumbai,
yes,
and
there
things
was
like
a
that.
big
And
hue and cry
they live
around
happily
it,
till
yes.
46 degrees Celsius in the heat. You'll see them in South Korea and Bangkok. You'll see them in a couple of zoos around the world. But the fact that they exist is only and only because they were also bred in zoos along with the wild. So you've got a lot of these programs happening around the world, not just this one specific one, but around the world. And I think along with that, how do you reintroduce them to the wild?
Right.
For example, the Asiatic lions in Gir, right? Now they've come to a point where they are near the coastline. They would probably want to migrate, or you need to also shift them to another zoo because interbreeding is going to create a problem. So people are looking into it.
Right.
These are things that we need to start looking at.
Right. Just that we've seen many reports where these animals have come from, how they landed there, these kind of discussions.
Well, currently we have the cheetah program that's happening in the country, and I mean, I fingers crossed that one day they will be free and wild. I mean, in the grasslands, but right now it's quite a delicate project. It's
I think again, when we
safe-
speak of such programs, like I said, investment has to be in the right way.
Right.
The planning, the animal conservation, the animal care, your animal NICUs, all of that has to.
You think if they've done it in the right way?
I have seen that, but something that we were planning even for where, now typically again the RA metro station is coming, and that is a fight that's going on. We shifted it out. Okay, let's not go into the practical bit and the technical bit of it, but that is where we wanted to build this vet hospital.
Okay.
Because again, for wild animals, where do you take the animals? You have people supporting it through CSR and all, but there has to be a formalized institution that can look into your forest, not intervene, because when there are animal fights, not everyone intervenes. But if someone's really hurt, how do you help that animal?
Right. Right. Fair enough. My last question to both of you is, y'all, is jungle a place where everybody gets a reality check, and there the animal is the VIP, and the animal is someone who gets all the importance. You have to go chasing them, and they don't come because you're a film actor or a politician.
Rohit has asked a Bollywood journalist type of question, na? I think it is the biggest equalizer. It is, but more than that, I feel like it's also a reminder that we shouldn't have an ego as human beings, period. That we're just one of the living species in this very, very large planet. And if you can live with that feeling in general. And if the jungle exacerbates that for you, then nothing like it. But
Right.
I've definitely gotten reminded of that every time I'm amidst that vastness. And it's an important life lesson. So
Right.
so yeah.
Why you go less to the jungle?
No, if I don't see the tiger in the jungle, I look at the mirror. Sorry.
Well done.
No, jokes apart. Because, I mean, yes, if you go to a forest and if you are actually a wildlife lover,
Right.
like I said, or even how she was speaking about, it's not just the tiger, it's about everything that you feel around you, right? And along with a lot of patience, you need
Yeah.
some intuition, some logic. And again, we speak about the rule of law.
Yeah.
No one speaks of the law of the jungle. I think there's a certain pattern to it which we are missing out on. And the gypsy people, your mahouts, all of these people who take you around in the forest,
Yeah.
if they know you, if they sort of know what you really love, they will drive you through the right kind of places and you will feel everything. Like, for example, my brother's perspective. He's
Yeah.
like, why are you going only for the tiger? Look at the deer, look at the monkeys, look at the kind of trees around. That is something you really enjoy. For example, I'll give you a small example from Mumbai Zoo itself. Everyone goes there for tigers, hyenas, crocodiles, and all. You've got the baobab trees in the zoo here, about 60 odd trees here. You've got botanical gardens, you've got Japanese gardens. People go and enjoy that as well. So it's about loving where you are, and you've got to hold a lot of patience. Nowadays, I see a lot of politicians hop from one party to another saying, "Isne mujhe itna time rukaya, mila nahi, 2 ghanta bithaya," and all. ठीक है. I mean, go to the jungle, you'll have to wait 4 hours for the tiger. So it's a lot of patience, and I think that's life. That's enjoying what you have.
Right. On that note, thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Sanjana, Gargi.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming and talking about all these various issues that one needs to talk about more, and especially coming from a Bollywood star and a politician, and hopefully we'll see Aditya back as
And hopefully
an
we'll see ourselves in the book
minister
next
again.
time around.
And thank you guys, for coming. Like I said, it's easy. Movie promotion is easy, but promoting a book and you all taking out time for a book is really, really special. So thank you so much.